5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
You're listening to the GHT Overland podcast. Welcome. Thank you for joining us on the GHT Overland podcast.
Now, Lisa, before we met this week's guest, did you know what an EarthRoamer was?
Yes, I did.
You did?
I did. I know my trucks.
No, you don't know your trucks. Seriously, did you? Don't josh me.
I know that an EarthRoamer is much bigger than a Toyota 4Runner.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, well, you're right. 100% right. And so what was your first thought as you saw her parked and we pulled up?
Holy Toledo, it's huge.
It's a big truck.
And super cool looking.
It is very cool.
Like, you knew it has the bells and whistles.
Even I was a little giddy.
Yes, I think you were.
Yeah. Well, it was a cool truck.
She's super inspiring.
Yes.
Traveling solo. Just achieving her goals.
Yeah.
She's a great skier. So she's like going along this trip and skiing all these mountains. That's super cool.
That is where you ski, is the mountains.
Yeah.
A business owner running her business 100% from the road. I was very impressed with that and very inspiring that you can go do those things and work from the road. You just need to create that business, which is really cool because she kind of goes through that. I believe, right off the top of my head, it took her like 5 years to put all those pieces of the puzzle together to allow her to do what she's doing today.
Yeah. Very approachable. Easy to talk to.
Oh, super sweet. Super nice. Very warm and welcoming. And really just, to me, inspirational.
Yeah.
That regardless of who you are or where you come from, if you have a goal, set out a game plan to achieve it, and you can do it. And just like she said towards the end of the interview, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yep.
And I know I've felt that way many, many times before.
It doesn't matter what your plumbing is.
You're on point. So, Lisa, let's do the introduction and jump into the interview as Lindsay is telling us more about herself.
What happened to the intro we did with her?
You had to remember that?
Chris.
Thank you. Well, remember we had to pick up that mic kind of last minute at Freddy's because she agreed to the interview and we were like 30 miles from home.
Oh, right. The new mic.
And it was supposed to be a fancy mic with lots of big promises.
It looked fancy.
It was cool. But let's just say we returned that microphone, got a couple Benjamins back in our pockets, and learned a valuable lesson. But we were super stoked that we had the opportunity to talk with Lindsay, and it was all worth it.
So a mic drop of a whole new kind.
Welcome to the GHT Overland podcast. This is where you get the greatest interviews and insights from overland travelers around the globe, learning from their stories and experiences as we interview overlanders from places like Australia, Africa, the Americas, Portugal, and today, Portland, Oregon. You will learn the basics to the advanced in overlanding, so buckle up and get ready for new adventure. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lisa. Today's featured guest is Lindsay of Girl Gone Glamping. Lindsay is an epic skier, traveler, overlander with a love for adventure. By pure luck, we found out Lindsay was in town, contacted her, and she graciously agreed to an interview, warmly welcoming us into her EarthRoamer for an interview. As a single female overland traveler, Lindsay was inspiring and had a lot to share. She's a business owner running her business 100% remote as she travels. Is it safe to go to the interview now?
Absolutely.
My name's Lindsay. I've been on the road full time for 2.5 years now. I've been in this EarthRoamer for almost 3 months. And I've kind of been on an epic winter road trip, hitting as many ski mountains as I can. It's been pretty rad.
That's pretty cool. So how do you like the EarthRoamer? It seems really comfortable in here. Seems perfect for, what would you say, 1 or 2 people in the model that you've got?
It's very comfortable for 1 person. It's doable for 2.
Okay.
I think 3 or 4 might be pushing it, but it does technically sleep 4.
Okay. Awesome. So tell us, what inspired overland travel and this sort of lifestyle for you?
So I really wanted something that was going to be not only comfortable for winter RVing, but that was going to be capable of going up over steep mountain passes, 4-wheel drive capabilities, larger fuel tank, larger water tanks, just something that was really just going to get me anywhere I wanted to go.
Okay.
And EarthRoamers seemed to be the best thing out in the market that I could find.
Okay. And you're pretty happy with it?
I'm actually very happy with it. I'm going to have a hard time returning it because I am renting this for the winter season.
Okay. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it do, like in the snow, when you've gone over the mountain passes? Mm-hmm. Do you feel comfortable driving this ginormous vehicle?
It actually was a pretty smooth transition. I usually drive a GMC half ton, and this is on a chassis of a F450, so a little bit bigger, but it's really capable in the snow. I'm very comfortable with it, and because the camper is one with the chassis, it's a smooth drive. It's not like driving a U-Haul truck where you get that wind resistance and wobbling.
Okay.
It's a very smooth drive, even up to like 65 miles per hour.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Mm-hmm. Very good.
It is heavy. It's 18,000 pounds.
Okay.
So you want to be careful for black ice because no matter what kind of 4-wheel drive or tires you have, you will slide.
Yeah, and the more weight and momentum you have going,
yes,
not ever so good. Okay, well, that's really good to know. A lot of people we talk to, they're in a smaller, like a Toyota or a Land Rover Defender with a rooftop tent. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that we hear from them a lot is, like, when we ask, is there anything you would change? Well, I'd like to be able to stand up, right? I'd like to be able to put on my clothes, do whatever. Cooking inside would be really nice to be able to stand up. You've got that luxury. Is that working pretty good? Any feedback you've got for other overlanders?
I will say, which is a pretty common thing, but solar is a game changer in the overlanding game. If you don't have solar, I highly, highly recommend it. It's worth the investment. I work full-time from the road, so the solar recharges my batteries, allows me to recharge my laptop and other devices at very minimal efforts. I mean, just a couple hours in the sun and I'm fully recharged.
Okay.
I don't know if there's really anything I would change. I honestly, I feel very lucky and fortunate to have been able to find a rig like this to rent and kind of test out. There's not a lot that I feel that I'm sacrificing in this.
Okay.
I think with any overlanding rig, space is an issue, and then any kind of shower toilet setup.
Okay.
And this does have a wet bath, a standing shower. I'm 5'10", and I have plenty of headspace in the shower. And it does have a cassette toilet, which was a new thing for me to learn about.
Okay.
Not my favorite option for a toilet, but it's still a toilet, which is nothing to complain about.
Yeah, so you can do the things you need to do without having to find a Starbucks or a Walmart or some other place if there's not one available. So tell us about your cooking setup and any recommendations you have for our listeners putting their cooking kitchen setup together. Now, taking into consideration, you've got the kitchen setup inside the rig. Do you ever set things up outside, or with the other travel you've done, putting all that together, what would be your recommendations?
So in my other traveling with the Airstream, I actually have an oven, which I utilized quite a bit, and I also have an outside grill that I also utilize in warm weather.
Okay.
Being on this winter road trip, being able to cook inside was great because you're on the mountain all day skiing or hiking, and you're cold, and to be able to come home to a warm rig. And I have a 2-burner hot plate, diesel fed in the EarthRoamer. I also have a pretty large convection microwave.
Okay.
And I have a 3,000 watt inverter, which allows me to use that microwave. And a lot of times between working full time, skiing as much as I can, I will admit that sometimes I get lazy and just microwave my meals because I can.
Yeah, sure.
Other times I'll use the hot plate and actually attempt to cook on it.
Cook a meal?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Depends on how tired I am.
So just out of curiosity, with the battery power that's in the EarthRoamer, how long can you set up, do your work, cook a meal without having to power up a generator or the engines, let's say if it's not sunny?
So if it's not sunny, I tried to run the engine for maybe 30 to 40 minutes in the morning because with the batteries sitting all night in cold temperatures, it will drain them. The EarthRoamer is great. I have a nice readout panel for my solar for what it's pulling and the battery level. So I just monitored it to keep them at a healthy level throughout the winter. I did have to get up on the roof and shovel off the panels quite often, which I wasn't mad about because if there's snow on the panels, they're a happy skier. There's snow on the mountain.
There you go.
But yeah, I would power up the engine for 30, 40 minutes in the morning, like I said. And then also I was driving a lot this winter to hit every mountain. So using the drive time, the alternator charged the batteries pretty quickly.
The skiing trip, tell us, that was super fascinating. Tell us about that.
So as of today, which is April 1st, I have skied 22 different mountain resorts this season.
Crazy.
All on the Icon Pass.
Okay.
It's been really great. I don't necessarily ski during the week as much as I'd like to because I am working full time. But I have only missed one weekend of skiing because I had to fly to town for a wedding. Okay. And a lot of times I'll put my laptop in my book bag at noon and cut out and work from the slopes, depending on the conditions. But it's been really great. I think kind of the goal was to hit all the mountains on the West Coast on the Icon Pass. And I'm pretty confident that I'll achieve that goal, even though the West Coast is warming up pretty quickly. Yes. But the secondary goal was to maybe try to uncover a little mountain town that I wasn't familiar with that maybe I'd want to post up at long term next winter.
There you go. Sure.
And I definitely have some favorites on my list. It's been really great. I think that I've met more people living this lifestyle this winter alone than I have in probably the last year. Okay. When you're in a parking lot in a small ski town and there's a couple other vans or overlanding rigs in the parking lot, you already have that commonality. Yep. And the conversation just kind of comes together.
That's super cool. Good for you.
Yeah, it's been exciting.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what is that one thing you value the most here within the EarthRoamer? Or maybe something that you value then from your Airstream?
Oh, that's a great question. The solar panels, I could not have gone without them this winter. I have not gone to a campground since I picked up this rig. I've had it plugged in twice. They do recommend plugging it in for 18 hours once a month, just for battery maintenance. So once when I was at a family's house parked in their driveway, I plugged it in. And then once I was having some work done at a shop, they plugged it in for me. So I've saved a lot by not having to go to a campground, and it's allowed me to work and run my business from the road. It's allowed me to comfortably cook in my microwave. Yeah. So definitely I would not trade that for anything. And the other thing I will say is that with this lifestyle in general, having your home with you all the time, I was all the way up in British Columbia, Canada, where I didn't know anybody. And being a female traveling by myself, it definitely gets a little lonely at times. And I don't feel as homesick because I have my home with me, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Everything's just kind of your own stuff in your own little space to call home. So even when you're in a parking lot in the middle of nowhere that you've never been, it's still kind of comforting to have that aspect with your house on your back.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. And then anything you originally packed that you've never used yet or removed?
Yes, like probably 10 pairs of shoes. I make a stop at Goodwill almost every change of the season, and just donate whatever I haven't used and during that season or the season prior. I had a very strict 1 in, 1 out policy when I started this lifestyle 2.5 years ago. So if I bought a shirt, I had to get rid of something. If I bought a new headlamp, I had to get rid of something, because otherwise your space just fills up so quickly. And I've been pretty true to that for the most part, I would say.
Cool. So you mentioned some of those favorite places within all of your overlanding travels. What are like a favorite 2 or 3 places that you've been, and what made them so special for you?
So for me, I really connect with the mountains, which I didn't really know that about myself before I started this trip. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, so it's very flat, not a lot of mountains there.
Different.
Yeah. And I had traveled out west skiing, and I knew I loved skiing, but I didn't necessarily make the correlation that I loved the mountains until I was there off season. And this past winter, traveling through Banff, through Alberta, Canada, and into Revelstoke in British Columbia, I am trying to figure out a way that I can move there for a couple months next season. It was absolutely amazing. The best way I can describe it is it feels like somewhere where nature is first and humans are second, which is a really cool kind of feeling to have when you're out there. It's so vast. You almost feel like you don't belong, but I'm very thankful to Parks Canada and the organizations that allow us to visit those parks and to be able to take part in that experience with nature. Everybody up there was extremely friendly to me. The US dollar goes a lot further in Canada right now. Yeah. These little ski towns, they're non-corporate feeling. They're very chill little mountain resorts. You don't see a Starbucks in Revelstoke. It's a very cool feeling. So the mountains for sure, and that area of the country called to me. And then the adverse to that, the desert, like Moab, is just magical in my mind. And there's so much BLM land that we have, and that is where I know a lot of people fighting to protect different monuments and whatnot of our parks. And I'm all for that because it's something so precious that once it's gone, I fear that we won't get it back. So I would say the deserts and Moab for sure would be top 3.
Okay, cool. A little bit different. So all those places you've been with the EarthRoamer, do you feel you've been able to get to any location you wanted to go to? Or have you ever felt that, I wish I had a smaller vehicle so I could get through this tunnel or go to this other place?
I honestly think this rig has been able to take me anywhere I've wanted to go. Because it is a higher elevated chassis, going off-road with it was super easy. When I'm towing my Airstream, it's a European chassis, so it's wider and lower to the ground, which is great for towing on roads. Okay. But it's terrible for going off-road. Yeah. You just don't go off-roads with it. So even though this is a bigger rig, to me, it felt smaller because I wasn't towing anything. Okay. I don't have any kind of anxiety going into towns or circling through parking lots looking for a parking space that I had towing an Airstream. I will say that the height of this rig is 12.5, I believe. And when I had to fly out for a wedding last week out of the Seattle airport, and I missed the sign for overheight vehicles. And I'm going, and it's like 10 o'clock at night, and I see the parking deck in front of me, which is 6'11" clearance. And my heart starts racing and my blood pressure is elevating. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to reverse this mile backwards at Seattle Tacoma Airport when it's just nonstop cars. Yeah. And I'm very thankful that this rig has a backup camera because I don't have that in my truck with my Airstream.
Okay, sure.
And I put my hazards on and I said a quick little prayer and I just went in reverse for at least like 3/4 of a mile.
And like everybody just got out of your way.
A lot of honks, a couple middle fingers. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, it was either that or go at them head on. I really wasn't sure what to do in that situation. Okay.
But the reverse was a smart choice.
Yeah, I made it out unscratched, so I'm thankful for that.
Good road stories.
Yes.
That's awesome. Any tips you have with getting groceries? Are you like just going to like your local grocery outlet or grocery store kind of thing? Are you going to like farmers markets? What's your deal? Yeah,
farmers markets have not been as common in the winter months. That's normally my go-to. Okay. It's healthy, organic produce. I like to support local farmers. My parents have a good size of farm back home. Okay. So I just kind of grew up with that mentality. Oh, cool. So I do like to do that when I'm on the road. But I've normally just been going to, like, if I can find a mom and pop's kind of supermarket versus a chain.
Got it. Okay.
And then it's just really easy. You just park in the parking lot and load the groceries right into the fridge, right from the grocery basket.
Do you have like a standard grocery list that you go off from, or I do. Minimum supplies that you want to have with you?
I do, and I try to pack up a little bit more in the wintertime just because you never quite know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to get stuck on the side of a mountain, and it's not a bad thing to have a fridge full of food while you wait for the tow truck.
100%.
I'm not a vegetarian, but I eat a lot of vegetables. Okay. I mean, at any point, there's probably 3 to 4 tubs of hummus in my fridge and a couple different bushels of fresh vegetables. I mean,
that's great.
I don't know how, but somehow I managed to live off of that. It's my go-to.
Awesome.
So along the hummus line, is there a favorite meal or recipe you enjoy making?
Again, I love like sauteed broccoli. I don't saute onions as much as I would put onions in every meal if I could, but the odor in a small space, I mean, then it just soaks into your bedding and your towels and your hair. It's a little much. In the summer, it's not as bad with the windows and vents open. But yeah, any kind of like sauteed broccoli, mushrooms over some like quinoa. It's my favorite.
Nice.
Put a hard-boiled egg or crack an egg on top of that. Good to go.
Yeah.
And how do you generally do your laundry on the road?
So actually, I feel that wasn't a hard transition for me because I lived in New York City and Chicago for about 5-6 years combined and would just go to a laundromat. So I was very much accustomed to that method anyways. And now it's just finding a different laundromat in a different city.
And for the listener, it was super entertaining as Lisa asked that question. She was looking around to see if there might possibly be a washer dryer hidden in the corner.
You never
know.
somewhere.
You don't know because all the doors look like cabinetry.
Yeah, they are. It's
true.
Beautiful.
It's true.
And so it could be hiding.
And if I was going to be building out my own overlanding rig, I would definitely opt out of a washer dryer combo and take the space for something else. I haven't missed having a washer and dryer.
Hygiene. Do you have a shower and toilet setup, or what's your recommendation for keeping it simple and hygienic on the road?
So my one requirement when I started this lifestyle 2.5 years ago was to have a shower, and it was to be separate from the toilet, which I achieved with my Airstream. With the EarthRoamer, again, requirement was just to have a shower and a toilet. It didn't have to be separate. And I have a wet bath, so my shower is over my toilet, if you're not familiar with that. It's like an all-in-one combo. And I actually don't mind this setup because there is a heater vent in there. So if I run my furnace after I shower, the whole bathroom's dry within an hour. I actually use it as a clothes dryer for anything I want to hang dry. I'll hang up in my bathroom and dry it very quickly, or my ski gear when I get done hiking, running, whatever. Anything needs to be dried out, I just put it in the bathroom and close the door, crank the furnace, and it cooks it basically.
Interesting. Okay.
But on times when I'm trying to conserve water, or if I'm somewhere and need to shower more quickly, I'm a big fan of the Epic wipes. Are you guys familiar with those?
Epic wipes, no, but wipes, yes.
Right. So they're like a baby wipe, but they're the size of a small towel, and they're more eco-friendly. They're biodegradable of a different level than most baby wipes. They also are like hypoallergenic for kids and for dogs. So I've used them in the summertime before, like mountain biking, just wipe down before I get in my truck, so you don't get sweaty. I've actually taken full-on, quote, showers with them. Okay. So, I mean, some perfume and an Epic wiping are good to go.
You're good to go. So are you able to get this like online? How do you usually source that?
I actually contacted the company and they sent me some to try out, and I was very happy with it. But yeah, I just order them online. I think even Amazon might carry them now.
Any tips you've got for our female listeners that you think would be helpful for them?
Get a good hat that you look cute in. You will not regret it. Winter is great for that. Just wearing beanies all the time, whether your hair is clean or dirty underneath. I will say that don't let that be the reason that you don't get on the road. It hasn't changed my lifestyle that much. I don't feel that I'm sacrificing my hygiene to any great degree to live this lifestyle. And there's a reason my Instagram is Girl Gone Glamping. I like to be comfortable. I still like to dress up and wear makeup from time to time. By no means do I claim to be roughing it.
And then anything you'd change about your current setup?
I mean, more space is always nice, but with more space comes more capacity to drive around. I would probably change the direction of the bed. So you guys can't see this, but my bed goes from the nose of the truck to the end of the truck. And most campers that I've seen, the bed goes widthwise. I don't know if you'd agree with that. Yep. I'm actually a little bit claustrophobic. Okay. Which sounds ironic living in a tiny home, but it's only when it comes to sleeping quarters. And it took me a good 2 or 3 weeks being able to comfortably sleep in this thing. And I sleep diagonal, so my head is closest to the interior of the cabin and my feet are sticking up towards the dashboard. I'm 5'10", like I said, and I can't fully sit up on this bed. And this is a pretty tall clearance compared to other campers. Okay. So for me, I would somehow redesign that. I've often wondered if EarthRoamer makes a rig. This is a a king cab, so it's got 4 doors on the truck. I often wondered if they could do something where they take out the back seat of the cab to make it more for the camper, and in incorporating a little bit different headspace with the bed situation. And it's very tight with 2 people up there sleeping diagonally.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah, that took a little getting used to, but I stand by the fact that you do adapt to your living situation. If it's bigger, you'll fill it up with more stuff. If it's smaller, you downsize. It's just a matter of how long that takes you to do so.
Okay, cool. So there you go, EarthRoamer. You got some new ideas to work on. So, Lindsay, tell us about that number one biggest challenge you've had to face on the road.
I would say finding community has been the biggest thing that I missed about being stationary. I've had to look a little harder, and I have to work a little harder at maintaining my current relationships, friends, family, significant others, because my destination location is always changing. So it's really hard when you meet some people to build on a relationship when you're not going to be back in that town anytime soon.
Sure.
I do miss that. When I lived in different cities, I belonged to a book club, a running club, a church. I belonged to different organizations. And with that, I get this fulfillment of that community aspect. So I have missed that, but it does exist out there on the road. And it's thanks to people like you guys with these podcasts that we can get connected.
Oh, cool.
Definitely. Any border crossings?
Oh, I totally skipped that, didn't I?
Did.
Have you done border crossings?
Yes, I have. And I was really intimidated to do it. I don't know why. I'm not carrying anything illegal in my camper.
Okay.
But I do think being a female by yourself with a rig that catches an eye, it draws a lot more attention and questions. So when I crossed into Canada, I was at the Sweetgrass crossing, which is like north of Bozeman, Montana. I was heading towards Calgary, and they stopped me, made me shut off the engine, made me get out of the truck. They didn't search the rig, but they had a lot of questions as to what I was doing, why I was there, why I was by myself. And I'm sure it's standard protocol to an extent, but I just felt nervous. I didn't mind if they searched my rig. I was happy they didn't, because I was hoping they wouldn't make a mess of it, and I didn't know how clean it was at the time. But yeah, and then when I came back into the States, I crossed in Vancouver, and it was like a 3-second ordeal. It was like, welcome back to the U.S. Here you go. So
Okay.
yeah, with my truck and trailer, I crossed into Mexico once, and nobody even checked my passport on the way in. I was literally like holding it out the window, like waiting for somebody to stop me, and they just let me go on. And I'm sorry, I only had my truck then. I did leave my Airstream on the El Paso side.
Okay.
And then when I crossed back in, and I was only there for a couple hours, I went to see a cool church, went to get some tacos, see some other sites. And when I crossed
You got to get tacos when you go to Mexico.
You have to, and guac.
Okay,
and I might have had 2 helpings of guac. But then when I crossed back in, I have a hard tunnel cover that locks on the back of my pickup truck. And they made me open that all the way out. They took all my bins out. They searched everything. They wanted to know why I had all these hoses and cords and connectors. And I tried to explain that I'm traveling in a camper. And they were like, who do you know in Mexico? I said, nobody. Why did you come here? Yeah. How'd you get around? Like, it was an hour process easily. And I was not happy that they didn't put things back nice and neatly in my organization method.
Come on, guys.
But they did let me back into the U.S., so I'm happy for that.
That's good.
And any specific safety planning you do or tips you can provide our listeners on safety and security?
So for me, I was a little intimidated getting started on the road, being a female by myself, but I reevaluate the situation from time to time that I'm in, and I basically just take safety and I bump it up a couple notches on my priority list more than I used to. I try to sleep where I have I try to sleep where I have cell signal. I just feel a little bit safer if anything happens. I can call 911 or I can call for help of some kind. I do carry a long gun just because it's legal in all states. It's more of like a worst case scenario type thing. There's been a very few times that I've had to take it out, load it because you can't travel with it loaded, and just put it on my kitchen table, and I slept better just kind of knowing it was there. I travel with bear spray for hiking, and I probably would reach for the bear spray before any other weapon if there was some kind of intruder situation.
Yep.
And then I recommend always have like a pocket knife on you, especially if you're out exploring new areas. You can use it for functionality as well as protection. But I think just kind of knowing your surroundings, being aware when you're pulling onto a trailhead that you're going to sleep at for the night, just kind of look around. Are there any other vehicles there? Are there any other people? Does anything not feel right? If you get a gut feeling that it doesn't feel right, just find somewhere else to sleep. It's normally not worth it. And the other key thing is I always have my location with my iPhone shared with my best friend. So she always knows where I'm at. And if I feel like I'm sleeping somewhere that's questionable, I just kind of message her, hey, this is the situation I'm in. Keep an eye on my location. If you don't hear from me in 24 hours, you know, so I feel like that's
where I last was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Smart.
I also think you just have to trust that people are good. Having a good head on your shoulders helps. But at the end of the day, people are good, I believe.
Yep. 100%. I'm super curious if she was able to finish her goal of skiing all the resorts on the Icon Pass. But it's pretty cool that she had skied 22 of them as of April 1st when we recorded the interview.
I know she was a little nervous with the weather getting warmer, but I'm pretty confident that she reached her goal.
You were on Lindsay's side, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
So
Us
am I.
women stick together.
Heard that before. And I'm also thinking that Revelstoke is a place that we really need to check out because I love small mountain towns. Slide in a ski resort with a good hospital close by, we might be good.
Why do you think we need a hospital?
Because you've never skied before, and if you do, at our very young age, things are going to break.
Okay, we're safe. If there's a hospital close by.
With good pain meds.
Okay, I'm game. Our interview with Lindsay is our longer format interview, so we split these into 2 episodes for your downloading pleasure. Don't worry, new episodes are released each Thursday.
In next week's episode, we learn more about the finer details of her 2006 EarthRoamer XVLT number 22 overlanding setup, discuss financing, and enjoy more road stories from her travels. Although that backing up 3/4 of a mile at the Seattle airport story, Lindsay, is going to be hard to beat.
Oh my gosh. She did amazing. I could just visualize it.
I was tensing up as she was telling us the story, just visualizing beep, beep, beep.
Well, I was visualizing if I could even see out the side mirrors with that big. I mean, it's so big.
Well, it has big side mirrors.
Well, I know, but you can't see if there's like something directly behind you.
Yeah, but she has a backup camera. It's an EarthRoamer.
It's got all the bells
I'm
and
surprised
whistles.
it didn't back itself up.
So what's with the 22?
Oh, well, coincidentally, 22 is also the number of passes that she had skied, but EarthRoamer numbers her trucks.
They do?
Yep, and that was number 22 that they had built.
No way.
Little fun facts.
But like, how many actually have they built?
That was number 22.
Well, I know, but EarthRoamer's like, it's a big name.
Well, it's a big truck. Hey, Siri, how many EarthRoamers has EarthRoamer built? Siri doesn't know.
Bummer. It's kind of cool, the original. She got one of the originals. Top
Number
50.
20.
Remember, it's a good idea to visit the show notes page on our website at ghteoverland.com/podcasts. Select the Girl Gone Glamping episode. All the details and helpful links are already there for you.
That is right, Lisa. And be sure to send your questions, suggestions, and feedback to ghteoverlandpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love it if you'd connect with us on the social medias at ghteoverland. Be sure to share the episode with your friends who enjoy travel off the beaten path or who may be travel off the beaten path curious. They'll enjoy it too.
If you enjoyed the episode, it would mean the world to us if you did 2 things to help out. Rate and review the podcast. That's 1. Subscribe. Giving the GHT Overland podcast a little extra love on your podcast platform of choice. Thank you, and we will see you next Thursday for part 2 of the GHT Overland podcast with Girl Gone Glamping. Bye!